Hi guys, welcome to Clay with CFA. We're at Cadell Fine Arts today, and I'm Miss Amanda.
And I'm Miss Sam.
And welcome to our playground. On today's episode of Clay with CFA, we'll be making cute little gnomes to add to your garden.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. Alright, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Welcome back guys. We're going to get started on our ceramic gnomes. We are going to start with some white clay, and this actually fires to a cream color, so we label it as buff clay in our studio. With me I have a needle tool and a rake tool. I also have a sponge and some slip. If you guys remember before, slip is like our glue for our clay. We have a bucket of water, a dry towel, and a wet towel for our hands. All right, let's get started. So first I'm going to take a small chunk of white clay, and we're going to make a little guy today, I think. And we're gonna start by rolling it into a ball. Doesn't have to be perfectly round, just gonna get it started. All right, and then we're gonna take that ball and start to make him oval shaped. And we want him flat on one side. And then we're gonna keep going just on one half. We're coning our circle. So it's gonna start to take a cone or a triangle shape. Rolling it back and forth in between my hands. All right, so now we've started to get that pointy little shape going. We've got a nice flat base. And we're gonna use our water, get our fingers wet, and we're gonna pull the end of that. We don't want to stick, so if your fingers start to stick to it, then you need to get more water. We're just going to keep pulling till we get the end of this as skinny as we want it to be. And make sure we go all the way down here to the base, so we're pulling that clay upwards. If you guys were making a cup or a mug at home or in our studio, you would do the same thing to make a handle. This is a technique called pulling a handle. And if it were to be a handle, you would cut it off right there, and this would be the part that you would use for your handle. But it's perfect for making our little gnome hats. All right, so once I've gotten that as thin as I think it's gonna get without breaking, I'm gonna move that water over and I'm gonna grab my dry towel and get some of that extra moisture off my hands. And we're gonna hold it this way. And if you remember from our other video on how to make a pinch pot, we are going to start by placing our thumb inside, probably about to the knuckle of your thumb, depending on how big of a piece you made. And we're gonna make our little alligator fingers and we're gonna pinch. And this is how we make the opening in the bottom of our hat. And it's important to do this because we don't want our clay to be super solid. It takes a long time to dry if we leave it solid like that. And also, there's chances of it having big air bubbles in there. And by doing this, there's less chance of an explosion or our piece cracking or breaking in the kiln. So it's important to make sure that our walls are the same thickness all the way around. There we go. And I'm gonna stand him back up. Make sure our base is nice and flat, and to do that, I'm just giving it a little tap on the table. And I'm gonna come back and use my thumb to smooth out any imperfections that I don't like. All right, and we're just gonna sit him to the side for a second. And this little guy is gonna have some cute little legs. So we're gonna grab another little chunk of clay. And we're gonna roll a coil. So Miss Sam taught you guys in her video how to roll coils. Back and forth on the table. And this is gonna turn into our legs. Nice and even. So remember guys, if you're interested in making your very own garden gnome, you can always come and join us for classes at Kidell Fine Arts. And our phone number here is 216-664-4183. And we are currently registering for our summer programs. We have lots of exciting things planned for you guys. So give us a call. And you can learn how to make gnomes with Miss Amanda, or we can learn to make pots or things that you can use in your kitchen, or even back to school presents for your teachers. All right, so we've got a nice even coil, and our ends have little bubbles in them, and that's just from rolling. So I'm gonna use my needle tool and cut off those extra bits that we don't need. And I'm going to pull those together like that. And use my wet towel to get some of this extra clay off my hands. All right, so let's grab our hat again. Be careful, don't try to hold it by this part or you'll lose it and it'll snap. So we're gonna decide where our legs live. Let's see. What kind of legs do we want this guy to have? I think that looks good. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our needle tool again. We're gonna cut that here. And I'm just smoothing out the edges to get rid of those rough spots. And then we're going to give it a little bend. Just like that. Look, he's got a little foot. Yay! One little foot here. Smooth out this guy. All right, we've got that one smoothed out. And I think these guys look so cute outside in the garden, or they can sit up in the kitchen on a shelf. I just love little ceramic gnomes. I think they're so cute. All right, so now we've got 2 legs that are even. We're gonna decide again where they live. So they live here, and we're gonna make a little mark there and a little mark there, and the same thing on his hat, like that. And we are going to use our rake tool, and we're going to score, which means to scratch our clay. Here, and then we're going to do the same thing on our hat. So those are our little guidelines. So we're going to score here and here, and we're going to do it on the inside too. And now is a good time to put our initials on the inside, because it's very important for every artist to label their work. So I'm just going to write my initials on the inside of my piece. That way I don't have to move it around too much later to get my name in there. All right, so we're gonna use our slip, which is our glue. And remember, slip is just broken down clay with a little bit of vinegar and water added to it. And that's our clay glue. So this little leg lives here. We're gonna give it a push, and then we're gonna fold that extra piece down inside. I'm gonna use my finger to kind of mush on the inside and blend, but make sure you use your other hand to hold it right there, because if you don't put any support behind it, you push through it and then you won't be happy. Okay, we're gonna add a little glue to this side. We're gonna sit our other little leg right there. Bend it down and push, push, push. Blend it together to make sure it stays together. You can use a tool for this if you need to. I'm just using my finger, whatever works best for you. I'm gonna take my sponge and wipe that extra slip off of there. And then those guidelines we don't need anymore. So now I'm using my finger to come back and smooth out those guidelines that we made. He's still really soft, so you can move our legs around a little bit. All right. Let's see how he sits. So he's a little lopsided, and that's okay. We're just gonna push down. And now he sits there. And we're going to put this on top of our board over here, because he's trying to stick to the table. We don't want him to stick to the table, oh no. All right, there we go. Beautiful. And I think this guy should sit with his toes touching because it's cute. Look at how adorable that is. All right, and let's see, what kind of personality does this guy have? I think he needs a very wiggly hat. So we're gonna bend here, and then bend here, and then give him a little loop-de-loop. Oh, look at how adorable. Just like that. And we want to make sure that part doesn't move. So I'm going to use my rake tool again and just do a little score and a tiny touch of slip. Look at that. All right, I'm going to take my sponge and clean up any extra slip on there. When you're using a sponge, you want to make sure you squeeze, squeeze, squeeze all that extra water out of there. You just want it to be damp. Getting your clay too wet will turn it into a mud puddle, and that won't be any fun, unless you're going to play outside. I'm just going to use my sponge to smooth any of those imperfections. Turn it around so I can see the other side. There we go. So we're gonna put him on the shelf in the kiln room to let him dry for a few days, and then he'll go in the kiln, and that takes another 2 days for it to dry in the kiln. And then when we come back, we'll glaze it and see our finished product.
Awkward.
I'm the awkward silence.
You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back to Clay with CFA. I'm Miss Amanda, and our little gnomies have come out of the kiln, and we're gonna do some glazing today. So over here we have a clear coat, and we have a sour apple stroke and coat. We have neon orange gloss glaze, and we have a fun cobblestone. And we're going to get started. So I've already pulled out our orange, and I've got it sitting here. I've got clear in my little cup here, and we have our green in our squeeze tube over here. So we're gonna start with our orange, and we want to make sure we get 2 good coats on there. These guys are so fun to create. They have little personalities, each and every one of them. And me and the other instructors like to give them names. And if you ever want to visit and see all of the gnomes sitting in the front building, you certainly can. Just come up to Cadell Fine Arts. And while you're registering for your programs, you can see there's about, I'd say, almost 100 of them sitting in our front building that myself and our students and the other instructors have made just because they've been so much fun to work on this past year. So I was happy I'd got to share them with you guys today. So we're doing our first coat all in one direction. Make sure we get that nice and even. And we don't want our brush to get dry. That's one of the big mistakes people tend to make when they're trying to get good coverage, is they don't keep enough glaze on their brush. All right, so we've got one good coat on there. I'm gonna start where it's already started to dry at with our second coat. And some people like to do a cross pattern when they're glazing. I do that too, depending on what I'm working on. But for this project today, we're just gonna go all vertical. All the way up, all the way around. Guys will have to let me know what we should name this one. What do you think? Maybe Garfield because he's orange. Wouldn't that be cute? All of our little gnomes have names up here. All right, we just need a little bit more to finish up our hat. There we go. All right, so we've got all of our orange on there, and we have to wait for that to dry before we can do our cobblestone. So I am going to work on his little legs, and we're going to give him some striped socks. And this is going to take a couple of minutes to do. So this is the Stroke and Coat Sour Apple Glaze, this one right here. And all I've done was put it in this little squeeze bottle that has a little tip on the end. And I'll squeeze a little on the table so you can see that it comes out in a little bead like that. And it makes it easier to get nice little lines. So we're gonna do the tips of his little socks. Just like that. And then we'll start to go around in circles to give him some stripy socks all the way around. Nice even pressure. All right, now we've got his legs all striped. He's gonna have cute green socks. Now set that color over to the side, and we're gonna grab our cobblestone. Cobblestone is a really fun glaze to work with because it's not a solid color. And it comes in white and black, and we're using white cobblestone. And we're gonna put little dots on here. And when this color goes in the kiln, it kind of breaks apart and makes this really cool pattern. And you'll see on our finished product when they come out. You can add as many dots or as few as you'd like. You could make stripes. You could coat the whole thing in the cobblestone if you wanted to, and then the orange color would just come through where it breaks apart at. It looks really neat. This guy's got lots of polka dots. So he blends in with all the mushrooms that he lives around. right, so there's our cobblestone. And the final touch is to add some clear coat to his socks down here, because we did use that stroke and coat for the green, and that comes out shiny or glossy already. But the parts in between where the clay still shows won't be shiny. It'll just be matte and plain like that. So we're going to use a brush and we're going to coat the whole leg. And it's fine to cover over top of the stroke and coat because it's still going to come out clear. And yes, I know, it's blue, it's fine. You gotta believe me, it will not be blue when it goes in the kiln. A glaze kiln goes up to about 1800 degrees. We fire at cone 06. And when it gets up that high, all the chemicals in the glazes kind of melt together and they form like a glass. And depending on what the glaze is made out of is how you'll get your colors. If you are interested in this project or any other ceramic projects, please give us a call at 216-664-4183. And I would love to paint some gnomies with you. Our little gnomey friends. And I'm not putting any glaze on the bottom of my piece because I don't want it to stick to the kiln shelves, and it's so much easier to fire without having to stilt our pieces. So we're gonna make sure we keep the bottom of our piece nice and clean. Another trick you can use to help you with that is to put wax resist on the bottom of your piece. And if you do get glaze on there, after you're finished, you can kind of wipe it off, and that wax resist will stay on your piece until it goes in the kiln. And then once it's fired, the wax resist burns off and you won't see it anymore. So I'm not painting the bottom, but I'm just going around the edges of his feet to make sure they're covered. And the sides of his socks over here. All right, there we go. He's ready to go in the kiln. So we're gonna get this guy and some of the other ones that we've been working on this week in the kiln. And when we come back, you'll get to see all of our little friends.
Need food? We can help. The Greater Cleveland Food Bank's Benefits Outreach Department works within the community to help individuals locate food and apply for SNAP and other public benefits. Weekdays, our help center accepts phone calls from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and walk-ins from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 216-738-2067 or stop in our facility at 15500 South Waterloo Road. Our benefits outreach counselors are out in the community every day assisting with benefit enrollment and connecting the community to vital resources. Keep your eye out for our food truck, providing free, fresh produce and SNAP enrollment in the community. For more information, visit www.greaterclevelandfoodbank.org/gethelp.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work. Show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Welcome back, guys. We've got a bunch of our little gnomies out of the kiln. They've all been glazed. And I don't have our orange one right in front of us right now, but our red guy here does have our cobblestone that I was talking about. So you can see how those white drops have kind of broken apart and separated, and you can see the color underneath of them. We have the same thing on our little pink one over here with tiny ones. You can see those little guys on there. And our big one over here, his name is Big Papa. He's got some black cobblestone on him. And he has green underneath, and he was completely coated with the black cobblestone. And the thicker you put the glaze on there, the pattern will be different that shows up. So if it's really thick, you'll have big breaks, so like in some of these areas. But if it's thinner, you'll have little tiny breaks. It kind of almost looks like alligator skin. Just want to thank everyone again for watching Clay with CFA. And know that you're always invited to our studio at Cadell Fine Arts. Our phone number here is 216-664-4183. And our next episode, we'll be making clay mushrooms. See you next time. Bye.